So hi guys. So in the last video, what I did was to uh, Codelabs has just finished. Codelabs just finished its build. So currently I can run this application and it just shows a blank screen. And also I have installed one. I have installed this visor I mean for screen view in this app because I am using a physical device. And let me show you what this app currently shows. It just shows a blank screen. The app name is My Sote. Wait a second. So this is the current screen of this application. Okay, it's a blank screen. So also one thing, I also did one thing. I just forked this Codelab from this Android Codelab Android Compose and forked it to my own repository on GitHub repository. And currently, and the project build, why the project build was not getting successful is because I was using the latest version, so I have downgraded the AGP version and that Gradle plugin, which is 8.10.1, and I've also downgraded the Kotlin Gradle plugin and also Compose compiler Gradle plugin to 2.1.0. So I have changed those files. You can see this here in the build.gradle. Not here, I think project level build.gradle. Yeah, see, I've changed this those the dependency. I've downgraded this and currently the app is working fine. So this is the code lab. Okay, I have checked out to uh, basic layout code lab. Okay, and I mean the project is in basic layout code lab of this repository, which is basic layout code lab. So this project is in basic layout code lab. So I've just opened this repository, and this repository have two branch. Let me show you. Git branch. If I run this, main branch and end branch. Main branch is the startup, and end branch is the end of the application, which is end screen of the application, the final code of this app, which is this one. Okay, so let's just get started. I have checked out to this main branch. Main branch is the main branch contains the startup of this project, and end contains the solution of this code lab, as I have said. So we recommend you to start with the main branch and follow this code lab step by step. So main branch is already checked out. Currently go to the next slide, which is start with the plan. We will start by implementing the portrait design. So we will start by implementing a portrait design of this app. Let's take a closer look. So this is the portrait screen. Let's open this image in a new tab. So there's the screen we will build. Here is a such a text field with hint and this horizontal column, horizontal sorry row, which is just a search icon and the text with a hint search. Okay, it has some padding, also have some tint, I guess, and there is also a row there. It will be in column, and then inside column there will be a row. Okay, so whole screen will be in a column, and then we will make child of rows and column combination. So let's go through it. So we'll start implementing. Also, what you can do is to code along with them. There is a code alone, you can just follow this as I've said already. So we'll start by implementing this portrait design of this app. Let's take a closer look. When you are asking to implement a design, a good way to start by getting a clear understanding of its structure. So don't start coding straight away, but instead analyze the design itself. How can you split this UI into multiple reusable parts? So let's give this a go and with our design at the highest abstraction level. At the highest abstraction level, we can break this design down to two pieces. Abstraction level means superficial level. We are not getting too deep, but abstracting means uh, abstracting means, I mean, hiding the parts, hiding the wear and tear part, just to working with the UI only, UI point of view, which what we can see. But to work out this, we have to go through the abstraction if we understand deep. So I am not good at explaining, but that's what I am. So that's the abstraction. So let's give it a go with our design. At this highest abstraction level, we can break this down into two pieces. So abstracting out this wear and tear of this screen, how this works, but at the abstraction level, at the superficial level, or at the highest highest abstraction level, we can see the screen content. Okay, this is the screen content which will be in a row. Let me say you what my mental model is after seeing this screen is this all are in a column. Okay, inside column there will be a row, and then there will be another column, this three, and there will be another row, and then there will be column, and there will be row. So that's it. The screen content is this one, and the bottom navigation is this home and profile picture. Okay, drilling down, the screen content contains this subpart. So here is the highest abstraction level. Now going to a bit deep, drilling down, the screen content contains this subpart, the search bar, a section called align your body section, and a section called favorite collection. This is a favorite collection. So inside each section you can also see some lower level component that are used. The align your body element that shown in horizontal scrollable. Align your body element shows in a horizontal scrollable row. So this is horizontal scrollable rows. The favorite collection called the favorite collection card that's shown in a horizontal grid. Horizontal favorite collection card shows in a horizontal scrollable grid. Now that you have analyzed the design, you can start implementing. Now you have analyzed the design, you can start implementing the composable for every now you have analyzed the design, you can start implementing composable for every identified piece of UI. Start with the lowest level composable. And continue to combine this into more complex one. By the end of this code lab, your app will look like the perfect design. So that's the nitty-gritty part. Abstraction layer, highest level. That's how the UI you should think about the mental model after looking this UI. Okay, so let's go deep. Let's implement the search bar. So let me show you how the starter code looks like. Starter code has main activity only. That's it. UI, this theme part is uh, same for every application. So here is the main activity, and Jolanda Varhoff have created this project. So here is the on create function inside that one, there is called MySuit app, and there is also a search bar. Let's see how the search bar is called. MySuit theme. Search bar has padding and this and that. Okay, there's a compose called step search bar modifier, and inside search bar there is a default argument, which is default modifier, which will help us align item, change color, etc. There's a composable called search bar. There's a composable called aligner body element. Aligner body means, let me see. This is the aligner body uh, scrollable horizontal list, and then we have another composable called favorite collection card, which is a grid view, and an aligner body those arrangement. Aligner body. Let me see. Aligner body horizontal grid. Okay. So what this code is doing is to breaking down composable into different, breaking down the UI component into a small composable UI element. So which will help us to reuse those components over and over. So there's the aligner body composable. Another is a favorite collection grid, which is lazy grid. Okay. Also there is a home screen slot API. Slot API. I don't know what is this, but we'll find it out in the code lab. There is a home screen also scrolling. Okay, there is a bottom navigation, and also there's a my shooting a portrait mode. Okay, scaffold bottom navigation material. So there's a shoot navigation rail bottom navigation implement composable. There's landscape mode. There's also a landscape mode. Okay, all in code. You can see in composable, in Jetpack Composite, all are doing through Kotlin code. So that's what makes the UI super fast. Also, uh, there are some utilities that already defined is private where align your body. There's a image resource folder to image resource for resources are there. See those images. Hmm. Align your body data. Align your body data list of. There's a list of images too, and also there's some. That's a map. It's converted to map. This list of map here, which is a key and value pair. Okay, which then pass to this drawable stair pair. Drawable stair pair is a data class. Okay, this annotated to drawable resource, and this is string resource. Okay, so image and text. Okay, text are in those string folders, string.xml. Okay, also there's a favorite collection data, which also is a map. The data class list of key value pair, and it's passing to this data class. Okay, and there's a preview of each of this element that are defined here. Okay, there's the preview. So many preview. So each composable items are independent. That's a very great way to reuse our component over and over. So that's the initial code. Now let's get to the good part. Now the first element is search bar modifier. The first element to transform into a composable is the search bar. Let's take another look at the design. So there's the search bar. So screenshot alone. So based on this screenshot alone, it will be quite difficult to implement the design in a pixel perfect way. Generally, a designer conveys more information about the design. They can give you access to their design tool or share so-called redlining design. So in this case, our design handed off to redlining design, which you can use to rid of any sizing value. The design shown with a 8 dp. So the design is shown with a 8 dp of grid overlay. So you can easily see how much space in between and around this element. Additionally, some spacing are added explicitly to clarify certain size. See, this is redlining. So you can see that design search bar should have a height of 56 density in a pixel. It should also fill the full width of this parent. So to implement the search bar, use the material component called text field. To implement the search bar, use material component called So to implement the search bar, use material component called to implement the search bar, use a material component called text field. The compose material library contains a composable called text field, which is implemented for this material component. Start with the text field. So there is a material component called text field can mm, which can give us this kind of design. So start with the basic text field implementation. In your code base, open main activity and search for the search bar composable. Inside the search composable, write this basic text field implementation. So here is a search bar. Implement composable here. Let's give it some text field. Let's just import some. Alt enter. Material 3. Okay. So value on change value. Okay. So just added a text field. So some point you noticed you hard coded the fields value and the on value. Callback doesn't do anything since this is a layout focused Codelab. You ignore anything that has to do with state. So we'll not go to the state that what on value change on clicking on this text when we try to give some text to this text field, how the state changes or what will be the value. We're not giving it. That's why we are giving this hard coded value. So we're not focusing on state, so we'll just focus on the UI part. So that's what it is saying. So the search bar composable function except for modifier parameter. The search bar composable function except modifier parameter and pass this to the text field. So this is the best. So this is a best practice as per compose guideline. So this allows method. So that's basic compose guideline. This allows the method caller to modify the composable look and feel. So this allows the modifier caller modifier. This allows the method caller to modify the composable look and feel, which makes it more flexible and reusable. You will continue this best practice for all composable on this Codelab. So what it is saying is always pass a modifier parameter to every composable. So this is the best practice as compose guideline. This allows method caller to modify its composable. Okay, this allows method caller, जो भी मेथड उसको कॉल करेगा ना, वो उसको मॉडिफाई कर सकता है, उसका बैकग्राउंड कलर चेंज कर सकता है, उसका लुक एंड फील को ना चेंज कर सकता है. सो ये रिकमेंडेड वे है गूगल का टू पुट ए modifier to it. So let's look at the preview of this composable limit. Remember that you can use the preview functionality in Android Studio to quickly iterate. So मैं preview use नहीं करूँगा because it takes too much time, man. So there's something missing. First, let's fix the size of the composable into the modifier. So कुछ चीज़ missing है जो कि है size of this size and padding को थोड़ा सा change करेंगे. So change the composable size, level, behavior, appearance, add information like accessibility level, process user input, add a high level interaction like making the element clickable, scrollable, taggable, zoomable. So mm, what so in this case the search bar should be at least 56 dp high. Fill its parent with to find it the right modifier. For this you can go to the list of modifier. So size को change करते हैं ना. For the height, you can use the height in modifier. This makes the composable a specific minimum height. It can have, however, become the larger when, for example, the user enlarge their system. So for the width, you can use a fill max with modifier. This modifier takes so what is basically done is fill max to it and height को height in क्या करता है भाई height in property for the height use height in modifier. This makes sure this composable function specific minimum height. अच्छा minimum height is 56 dp. मिनिमम क्या है भाई सीधा हाइट 56 देने से ही तो हो जाता. However become larger when however larger when for example user unless the system. So it can however become large when for example the user enlarge their system font size. ओके सिस्टम फॉन्ट साइज जैसे कि हम सेटिंग में जाकर फॉन्ट साइज को इंक्रीज कर सकते हैं ना. तो अगर सिस्टम में इंक्रीज करते हैं तो ये लार्ज होगा. सो दैट्स व्हाट इट इज बेसिकली सेइंग. फॉर द वेट यू कैन यूज द फिल मैक्स विथ. ये तो पता ही है फिल मैक्स विथ पूरा मतलब अगर आप एक्सएमएल से आ रहे हो उसको बोलते हैं मैच पेरेंट not the wrap content match parent. So let's change this modifier to the search bar. Fill max with इसका भी import करना पड़ता है भाई. सब चीज़ को import करना पड़ता है. So if I run this application will it be visible? Let's see if it's calling this search bar. ये तो सिर्फ प्रीव्यू में हो रहा है. एक्चुअल फंक्शन में कॉल कर रहा है क्या? नो जस्ट प्रीव्यू. मैं जस्ट प्रीव्यू फिर प्रीव्यू को देख लेते हैं ना. ये टाइम लगता है. दैट्स व्हाई आई एम नॉट ओपनिंग दिस. ये देख कंपाइलिंग. देयर इज अ सर्च बार प्रीव्यू. पहले ही है सर्च बार का प्रीव्यू. सर्च बार प्रीव्यू सर्च बार मॉडिफाई पेडिंग. अच्छा यहाँ पे पहले से एक पेडिंग दे रखा है उन लोगों ने. सर्च बार मतलब यहाँ पे बोला था ना कि पेरेंट जो लेआउट कंपोजिबल को कॉल करेगा तो बेस्ट प्रैक्टिस है ये है कि हम मॉडिफायर को उधर पास कर दो. एंड पास कर दिया एंड सीधा पेरेंट से हमको हम उसका पेडिंग दे रहे हैं कि 8 dp. ठीक है. और सर्च बार को क्लोज करते हैं. सर्च बार में हाइट 56. सो there's the search bar preview. सर्च बार प्रीव्यू देख लिया. अबे यार ये इस साइड में क्यों आ गया? अब सही है. So सर्च बार को ये चेंज कर दिया, ठीक है. So in this case, because of modify influence of width and the other height, the order of this modifier doesn't matter. So in this case, because of one modifier influences the width, one modifier influences one modifier influences, in this case, because one modifier influences the width and the other height, the order of this modifier doesn't matter. Okay, you also have to set the parameter, some parameter of text field. Try to make composable look like this design by setting the parameter value and some design against reference. Define again as reference. So these are the steps you should take to upload your implementation. These are the steps that you should take and update your implementation. So there's the currently, and we need to add a icon in the text, hint text. So add a search icon. Text field contains a parameter. Text field contains a parameter leading icon that accepts another composable. Inside you can set an icon which is in, should choose and make sure you use the right composable icon import. You can also use the text field to default colors to override specific color. Set the focus container color and unfocus container color text to for the material theme surface color. Add a placeholder search. You can find this string placeholder search. When you are done, your compose should look like this. Wow. So that's the final code. Okay. So inside text field there is a parameter called name parameter called leading icon. So ये आ गया अपना ये आ गया अपना सर्च, ठीक है. सो कलर में थोड़ा सा चेंज करना पड़ेगा. कलर थोड़ा सा ना इसमें कलर दिया हुआ है, देखते क्या आता है भाई. अनफोकस कंटेनर मतलब जब हम क्लिक करेंगे ना उसके अंदर घुसेंगे तो एक कलर आएगा. अनफोकस जब हम फोकस नहीं होगा मतलब when you click and try to write give some text it will use this color and ये तो सेम दे रखा है. अनफोकस्ड और फोकस्ड कलर सेम ही है तो कोई फ़र्क हमें नज़र नहीं आएगा. स्टिल लोगों ने दिया है तो let's add this parameter. Let's see भाई क्या कलर आता है. वाह कलर तो भाई थोड़ा चेंज हो गया है ना. Let's see how this looks if we don't add this. Let's toggle between. So ये grayish color type हो गया है and if we give this color if we just give this parameter, see there is a nice card view type. See the color is now white and there's some you can see the shadow which is really looking great there. Okay, now let's add a placeholder. Placeholder is a text this is a simple text. It's coming from string resource. Let's import this string resource, import this text composable function. Let's hide this. So see, our search bar is completed. But if we run this just for demonstration purpose, because it's so this search bar is only calling from a preview function. It's not calling from a set content MySuite application, right? So it's not calling from this MySuite portrait. So we will not see anything in our if we run this app on an emulator of a physical device. Okay. So notice you added leading icon showing a search icon. This icon doesn't need to contain description as this text field. As the text field placeholder already describe the meaning of this text field. Remember that the content description is normally added for accessibility purpose. So content description जो मतलब पढ़ नहीं सकते ना, सुन नहीं सकते, हमें सुन सकते मतलब they are blind people, they can't see, they can't see, तो उनके लिए होता है ये एक पैरामीटर होता है जो कि है कहाँ गया कंटेंट डिस्क्रिप्शन. तो इसमें लीडिंग आइकन में कंटेंट डिस्क्रिप्शन नहीं लगेगा बिकॉज वी आर गिविंग a placeholder and the text says it, so we don't need to explicitly mention. So to learn about more, you can check it out to it. अच्छा मैं थोड़ा सा ना फास्ट पेस कर देता हूँ. To adapt the background color of the text field, you set the color property instead of फास्ट पेस करने से भी नहीं होगा, थोड़ा सा हम क्विकली करने की ट्राई करते हैं ना. So instead of separate parameter for this each color, the composable contains one combined parameter. How you pass in a copy. Instead of separating parameter each, the composable contains one combined parameter. Here you pass in copy of the text field default data class. Here you update only the color data defined. In this case, that's the only unfocused and focused container color. In this step you saw in this step you saw how you can use composable parameter and modifier. In this step you saw how you can use composable parameter and modifier to change the composable look and feel. So this applies to both composable provided by the compose and material libraries and to the ones you write yourself. You should always think about providing parameter to customize the composable you are writing. So you should also add a modifier property so the composable look and feel can adapt from outside. Okay, there is a great concept here. So in this entire Codelab now, if you want to take something out of it, say you should always add a modifier property so the composable look and feel can be adapted from outside. So if you are defining a composable, you should always add a modifier to it. So when you call this composable or this composable, you can change its design or padding from outside without touching this composable. So that's the best practice that Google recommends. Okay, so we have created a search bar. So what I am guessing that what they are doing is they will make all the composable. जैसे कि ये search bar को मैंने create किया है ना, so they will create all the composable separately and then in a, for example, in a portrait there is a composable called portrait, MySuite portrait. यहाँ पे कॉलम composable को डाल के उसके अंदर एक एक करके सारे composable को हम कॉल करेंगे and then this composable will be called from MySuiting app. ठीक है, MySuiting app यहाँ से कॉल होएगा and then we can run this application and final output will be in our emulator or physical device. ठीक है, so सर्च बार हो गया. मेन कॉन्सेप्ट यहाँ पे मॉडिफायर का, ठीक है ना, मॉडिफायर से कैसे हम चेंज कर सकते हैं. सो एक बार रिव्यू कर देते क्या किया है हमने. सर्च बार के ना टेक्स्ट फील्ड को ऐड किया है, ठीक है. वैल्यू का कोई काम नहीं है बिकॉज वी आर नॉट लर्निंग अबाउट स्टेट यार. तो टेक्स्ट फील्ड को ऐड किया है, टेक्स्ट फील्ड के बाद एक आइकॉन ऐड किया है ठीक है। इमेज वेक्टर कंटेंट डिस्क्रिप्शन नहीं चाहिए, नल दिया है, देने से भी होता। लीडिंग आइकॉन में हम आइकॉन दिया है, ठीक है, और आइकॉन से एक कलर दिया है, कलर फोकस्ड कलर, अनफोकस्ड कलर, प्लेस होल्डर टेक्स्ट दिया है सर्च, एंड देन मॉडिफायर, वो की मेन पार्ट है मॉडिफायर दैट फिल मैक्स विथ। फिल मैक्स विथ मतलब पूरा जितना भी एरिया स्पेस है ना उतना स्पेस में पूरा कवर करेगा। और यहाँ पे ना 8 dp दिया है हमने पेडिंग, तो दैट्स वाई यहाँ पे थोड़ा सा ना, ये देखो वेट सेकंड, यहाँ पे थोड़ा सा गैप आ रहा है ना, ऊपर नीचे लेफ्ट राइट और बॉटम में थोड़ा सा स्पेसिंग आ रहा है, बिकॉज पेडिंग दिया है हमने आउटसाइड से। मॉडिफाई फिल विथ हाइट दिया है इसका 56 dp, 56 dp दिया है। लेट मी शो यू इफ आई गिव इट 90 dp व्हाट विल हैपन। थोड़ा सा ना वो इंक्रीज हो जाएगा हाइट। See, this is not a good way, right? So you should always keep it. If we are creating a search bar, always use the 56 dp of height. ओके। और ये जो बोला था ना, ये जो साइड में टॉप बॉटम लेफ्ट राइट स्टार्ट में जो पेडिंग दिया दे रखा है ना, उसको हमने प्रीव्यू में जब कॉल किया था ना, देखो यहाँ पे पेडिंग दिया है हमने 8 का, और पैरामीटर में आ रहा है ऑल मीन्स स्टार्ट एंड टॉप बॉटम सब में से 8 dp स्पेसिंग हो रहा है, ठीक है। सो दैट्स इट फॉर द सर्च बार, ठीक है ना भाई। उसको ना हम पुश मारते हैं, स्टेटस को थोड़ा सा देखते हैं। गटल में चेंज हुआ है माइन एक्टिविटी, git add all, git commit m, search bar completed, git push। ठीक है, तो ऐसे पुश करने के लिए ना आपको पहले फॉर्क करना पड़ेगा वो मेन रेपोजिटरी को अपने अंडर में करना पड़ेगा, उसके बाद आप पुश कर सकते हो। डायरेक्ट जो क्रिएटर का रेपोजिटरी में आप पुश नहीं कर सकते, उसके लिए आपको पुल रिक्वेस्ट करना पड़ेगा, ठीक है ना भाई। सो गिट और गिटहब का कॉन्सेप्ट भी बहुत बढ़िया कॉन्सेप्ट है। टन 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 टन। आज संडे है भाई, आज स्टॉक मार्केट बंद है। सो लेट्स गो टू अलाइन योर बॉडी, बॉडी पे जाते हैं, ठीक है ना भाई। अभी अलाइन योर बॉडी इस पार्ट को हम डिजाइन मारते हैं, ठीक है। The next composable you will improve it, align your body element. Let's take a look at this design, including the red line design next to it. इसका हाइट है 88 dp, और ये बॉडी मीडियम है, ये इसका फॉन्ट साइज, आई मीन फॉन्ट टाइप है बॉडी मीडियम। उसके ऊपर थोड़ा सा टॉप पेडिंग है 24 dp, एंड बॉटम में है 8 dp, ठीक है। सो दैट्स इट। और एक प्लेस होल्डर टेक्स्ट है अलाइन योर बॉडी, ठीक है, तो उसको क्रिएट करते हैं, देखते हैं। द इमेज शुड बी 88 dp height, okay। The space between the baseline, baseline to the text and the image should be 24, baseline and the text is between baseline और text के between में space 24 dp का। The space between the baseline and the bottom of the element should be 8 dp, baseline and bottom of the element should be 8 dp. The text should have a typography size of body medium, okay। The baseline or the text line which letter sits, okay। Size another concept, what is baseline? Baseline of a text is the letter on which the letter sit. It considered the best practice among designer to align text element. So it's considered the best practice among designer to align text element based on their baseline of the baseline instead of top and bottom. Baseline से उसको align करो, this is the best practice. So okay, to implement is composable। और कोडलैब को ना डिज़ाइन करने का, ये कोडलैब को फॉलो करने का कि मतलब बहुत ही एक पॉजिटिव साइड है कि वो लोग गूगल का जो डिज़ाइनर है ना भाई एक्चुअल, वही इन सब कोडलेब को बनाते हैं. तो इट्स अ वेरी बेस्ट प्रैक्टिस टू follow Codelab. The text of a typography medium. So to implement this composable, you need an image and text composable. You need an image and text composable. So they need to be included in a column. Okay, so they are positioned underneath each other. So find the align body element composable in a Codelab to understand its content with its basic implementation. So ये है column है ना. यहाँ पे हमने align near body element में एक कॉलम पास किया है. कॉलम मतलब वर्टिकल, ठीक है ना. कॉलम पास किया, कॉलम के अंदर आ जाएगा ये इमेज. ठीक है ना, इमेज आ जाएगा और इमेज के अंडरनीथ आ जाएगा टेक्स्ट. लेट्स सी हाउ दिस कंपोजिबल looks like. This is this one, a linear body element. Wow. So ये आ गया है, ठीक है. a linear body element में ये आ गया है. Notice that you set content description of the image to null as this image is purely decorative. The text below the image is given enough to the meaning, so the image doesn't need to be extra description. Okay, description चाहिए नहीं because text already बोल रहा है. So will the OS read this? I don't know. If it is null and if some blind guy read open this, use this text, use this app, will the operating system read those text string? Maybe yes. That's why it's saying the text below the image has enough meaning. Image describe enough of the meaning, so the image doesn't need to be extra description. You are using a hard-coded image and text, so in the next step you will move to use a parameter provided. You will move to this user parameter provided and body composable to make it dynamic. So you're just hard coding now. हमने यहाँ पे हार्ड कोड मार दिया, ठीक है. हार्ड कोड कर दे इधर. सो लेकिन इसको ऐसा होना चाहिए, डायनामिक होना चाहिए, ठीक है. सो फिल हो जाना चाहिए. सो उसको हम करेंगे. सो टेक a look at the preview of this composable. There's a kind preview. There are improvements to be made, but noticeably the image looks too large and not shape a circle. So ऐसा बनाना है हमको, सर्कल में बनाना है. So there are some improvement. Large and not in shape. You can add out the image composable with size and clip modifier and the content scale modes. The size of the modifier adapt is composable to fit certain size to the fill max width and height in modifier that you saw in the previous step. The clip modifier works differently and differently and adapts the composable appearance. You can set it any shape. You can set any shape and it clips composable to content shape. सो मॉडिफायर में तो साइज ऐड किया है और क्लिप ऐड किया है, सर्कुलर शेप, ठीक है. ओके, साइज इज 88 dp. सर्कुलर शेप थोड़ा रखा है लेकिन क्या रखा है, ये मिस मार दिया, तो स्केल मानना पड़ेगा, ठीक है. सो currently your design this people looks like this. So the image needs to be scaled correctly. So you can use the image content scale parameter. There are several options, most notably fit जो कि डिफ़ॉल्ट है fill bound इमेज को थोड़ा सा ना छोटा उटा करके fill कर देगा, ठीक है ना, crop मानना पड़ेगा. So in this case the crop type is the correct one to use. After applying modified parameter the code should look like this. Content scale dot crop. Content scale dot crop. There's the content scale dot crop. टेक्स्ट को थोड़ा सा ना सेंटर में आना चाहिए. So your design now look like this. As a next, align the text horizontally by setting the alignment column. So in general ये जो टेक्स्ट है ना टेक्स्ट को सेंटर में करना पड़ेगा. ये थोड़ा सा ना स्टार्ट में है. So the next step, the align text horizontally by setting the alignment to the column. Column का alignment change करेंगे इसका. ये जो column है ना उसका alignment change करेंगे. So instead of telling the child position its parents, so instead of telling the child to position itself its parent, you tell the parent how to align its child. So हम child से ये center नहीं कर सकते. Telling column, we have to give the parent, we have to call the parent to tell how the child will align. Okay. So instead of telling child to position itself to its parent, tell the parent how to align his child. For column, you can decide how the child should align horizontally. The option are start center horizontally, and for row you set the particle align horizontally. For row you set the particle alignment. The options are similar to those column particle alignment. So for the box you combine both horizontal and vertical. For a box, so start center horizontally, and for the column, for the vertical alignment is to the top, center and bottom. For the box you can combine both horizontal and vertical element. Option are top start top center top end, center start center end, top bottom start bottom center bottom end. Okay, all of these container child will be follow the same alignment pattern. So all the container of the child will follow the same alignment pattern. So all the container children will follow the same alignment pattern. You can override the behavior in a single child by adding align modifier. Single child by align modifier. Okay. So let's do it. So horizontal alignment. कॉमा देना पड़ेगा भाई. import alignment.compose UI. अभी देखना ये सेंटर में आ जाएगा. horizontal center. See, alignment is now in center. So it looks much cool. So with this part implemented, there are only some minor changes that you need to make of this composer identical to the design. Try to implement this by yourself to or reference to the final code. If you get stuck, think of this following step. Try to implement the reference to final code itself. Think of this following step. Make the image and text dynamic. Pass them to argument in the composable function. Don't forget to update the corresponding preview and pass to some hard-coded data. Don't forget to update the corresponding preview and pass in some hard-coded data. Update the text to multimedia typography. Update the baseline spacing and element. So when you are done implementing this step, your code should look similar to like this. Text padding from baseline text padding from baseline is 24 dp top. So there are often various ways to get the same result. So you implement them might be slightly different from the proposed solution. For example, you can use the spacer or set padding, and both will have the same visual result. The most important part is the implementation follows the design and compose guideline. Okay, check out the alignment body. मैं थोड़ा सा ना ट्विक मारते हैं उसको हम फिजिकल डिवाइस पे रन करते हैं, मेरा ना मज़ा नहीं आ रहा है माई सूट ऐप में. पोर्ट्रेट लैंडस्केप तो छोड़ते, कॉलम डालते, कॉलम के अंदर सर्च बार को डालते और सर्च बार के नीचे अलाइन योर बॉडी एलिमेंट डालते. ठीक है. आ गया यार. अभी इसको रन करते. ये जो रन हुआ है ना भाई, इतना विजुअली अपीलिंग नहीं आ रहा है. Visually that's not looking very appealing. So what we have not done is, wait a second, हम ना मॉडिफायर पेडिंग 8 dp नहीं डाला है, तो उसको दोनों में मॉडिफायर का पेडिंग 8 dp डालते हैं, ठीक है, जहाँ पे कॉल किया है। अभी ध्यान करते हैं। अभी थोड़ा सा सही आ रहा है। लेट मी शो यू what result I've just got. So that's the current screen और एंड जो रिजल्ट है ये आ रहा है, ठीक है ना भाई, एंड आ रहा था ये, ठीक है। यहाँ पे एक टेक्स्ट मिसिंग है भाई, अलाइन योर बॉडी, ठीक है, उसको दे देंगे, कोई दिक्कत वाली बात नहीं है। ये कलर वाइट है, हमने इसमें भाई यहाँ पे तो फिजिकल डिवाइस में तो ऐसा ना अलग ही कलर आ रहा है, यहाँ पे अलग ही कलर आ रहा है। सही है भाई, यहाँ पे इसका क्या चोचला में है, तो बाकी तो सब सही है। अभी लेट्स गो टू कोड लैब। सो अलाइन योर बॉडी, ये तो हो गया, ठीक है। नाउ फेवरेट कलेक्शन कार्ड, अभी इसको डालते हैं ना, फेवरेट कलेक्शन कार्ड को। सो इसमें क्या है, द नेक्स्ट composable to implement is a way similar to the align your body element. Here is the design, according to the red line. So in this case, the full size of the composable is provided. In this case, the full size of the composable provided. You can see the text. Title should be medium. This contains surface is a background color defined with defined background the whole screen. It also rounded corner to specify the favorite color. We see the code में जाते हैं, ठीक है ना। फेवरेट कलेक्शन कार्ड, फेवरेट कलेक्शन कार्ड, इसमें ये ना इसका सरफेस में इंक्लूड कर रहा है। अच्छा एक कोड देना भूल गया भाई, अलाइन योर बॉडी एलिमेंट। अभी पुश बाद में करेंगे एक साथ। फेवरेट कलेक्शन कार्ड, इसको सरफेस में डाल दिया। अभी सरफेस क्या है, surface is a composable in composed material type. It follows a general material design pattern and you can adapt it by changing the app theme. You can also learn more about theming. So surface is a container, a composable content material type. It follows a general material design pattern, so you can adapt by changing the app's theme. You can learn more about theming. जो हमारा HTML में जो स्पेन होता है ना भाई, स्पेन, तो इसके जैसा ही है ये सरफेस। You can adapt surface to your needs by setting parameter and modifier. In this case, surface should have rounded corner. You can use the shape parameter for this. Instead of setting the shape as of the image or the preview, you use a value coming from the material theme. सरफेस में डालते हैं फेवरेट कलेक्शन कार्ड। Surface row scope image and image dashboard नेचर मेडिटेशन, कौन सा इमेज आ रहा है, ओके। implement composable here, surface shape material theme medium modifier। ओके लेट्स सी द प्रीव्यू में कैसा आ रहा है। फेवरेट कलेक्शन कार्ड, अपडेट क्यों हो रहा है भाई तुम? अच्छा ऐसा हो रहा है खड़ा भी, ठीक है। उसको हाइट विट से चेंज करते हैं ना। तो उसमें हमने क्या दिया है देखते हैं। उसमें हमने एक रो दिया है, रो हॉरिजॉन्टली मारेगा, ठीक है। और सरफेस में शेप दिया है हमने, मटेरियल की मीडियम शेप दिया है। मॉडिफायर से सिर्फ वो पेरेंट का मॉडिफायर पास कर दिया पैरामीटर को। उसके बाद रो कंपोजेबल कर दिया, और रो के रो मतलब हॉरिजॉन्टली है, इसमें इमेज है, इमेज में रिसोर्स दिया है, इसमें टेक्स्ट है ये, ठीक है। तो ये इजी है भाई, कोई रॉकेट साइंस तो है नहीं। Now set the width of the row and align it to child vertically. रो का width देना है अभी, तो सब कम करके देना है, ठीक है। और align it child vertically. Set the size of the image for diagram. Corporate image को थोड़ा सा छोटा मानना है, ठीक है। Try to implement these changes before looking at the solution. Try to implement the changes yourself. हम तो solution में देखेंगे, हमको जल्दी करना है। So रो में ना सेंटर वर्टिकली तो 255 dp है विथ का विथ। इमेज का साइज छोटा किया है और कंटेंट को स्केल मारा है इमेज को, ठीक है। अभी सही है। पर इसमें तो पहले से ही राउंडेड कॉर्नर आ गया है, देखो। मैंने तो ऐड ही नहीं किया था। कैसे आ गया ये राउंडेड कॉर्नर? इसके कारण होगा, मटेरियल शेप के कारण। उसको हटाते हैं, लिखते हैं। हाँ, ये जो हमने ना मटेरियल शेप को दे रखा है ना, शेप मटेरियल थीम जो शेप डॉट मीडियम में, तो उसके कारण वो राउंडेड हो गया है पहले, ठीक है। तो the preview should look like this. To finish up this compose, implement this following: make the image and text dynamic, pass them in argument to the composable function, update the color to surface, make the image and text dynamic, pass them into argument as a make the image and text dynamic, pass them as an argument in a composable function, update the color to surface, begin update the text to title medium typography style, update the text to use title medium, टेक्स्ट को थोड़ा सा चेंज करते हैं ना। So I have to pass the values here. I don't know how to pass this. Now that you've created the basic composable that is showing on the screen, you can now create a defined section of the screen. Now that you have created the basic composable that is shown in the screen, you can start creating a defined section. Start aligning body scrollable low. Here's a red line design first. Remember that one block of the gate represents 8 dp. So in this design, there is 16 dp space before the first item and the last item in a row. There's a 8 dp spacing below each row. Okay. Aligning body element. You can implement the scalable list like lazy row compose the document list contain much more than lazy row. Cultivation have to know the lazy row only enter the element that are shown in the screen instead of the element so that to the basic composable. So linear body row. So here's the linear body log. Give it some modifier, padding. This let's wait. See, the row is currently showing in a scrollable form. So there's some padding that has to be there in between. So let's do it. Now that you've created the basic components of the shown you can see the creating different skin section. Start with the line body scalable. Here is the deadline of this component. Remember that the one block of grid represents 8. So in the design, there is 16 space. Remember that one block of grid represents 8 dp. One block of grid represents 8 dp. So in this design, there is 16 dp space before the first item. And after the last item in a row, there is 8 space between and each other. Okay. So start and end 16.dp 16.dp DP start and end, and in between the item the padding is 8 dp. How can we achieve this? Equal weight space between, space around. For the row you can choose the following arrangement. For the column you can do this. Horizontal arrangement, space by 8 dp. Lazy row modifier is modifier space by 8 dp arrangement. I think the app will work fine. Now let's quickly run this application. I'm running in the real device. Let's see how this real device gives it. Okay, let me show you. कहाँ है यार ये? See, there's the current status of the screen. If we match this with this, हो रहा है इसके जैसा ही, but working fine. अरे यार इसको क्यों मैंने क्लोज कर दिया? रुको यार 7 में. So there's an important concept there. As you can see, the child item of a lazy row are not composable. Child item of a lazy row are not composable. So this is not composable. See, this items is not composable. So what does it mean? So you are using lazy list DSL that provides a method like item and items that emit composable as a list item for each item that is provided. And you use a lazy list DSL that provides a method like item and items that emit composable as a list item. If for each item that is provided aligner body data, for each item in the provided aligner body data, you emit aligner body element composable that you implemented earlier. Notice that this displayed. So the spacing that we saw in the redline design are still missing. So to implement this, you will have to learn about arrangement. The spacing. So in the previous step, we learned about alignment, which are used to align container child on a cross axis. For a column, the cross axis is the horizontal axis, while the row is vertical axis. However, we can also make the decision on how to place child composable on a container main axis horizontal for. However, you can also make a decision on how to place a child composable on a container main axis horizontal for row and vertical for column. For the row, you can choose the following arrangement. Equal weight, space between, space by. You can choose the following arrangement equal with space between, space around, space evenly, and LTR center start for a column. Space equal, space between, space around, space evenly, top, center, bottom. So in addition to this arrangement, you can also use the arrangement of space by. In addition to this arrangement, you can also use the arrangement. In addition to this arrangement, you can also use the space by method. This is one you need to use as you want to place 8 dp of spacing between each item in a lazy row. Okay, now the design looks like this. So now the design looks like this, and yeah, that's correct. You need to add some padding. You need to add some padding on the side of lazy row. Adding a simple padding modifier will not do the trick. Adding padding to the lazy row and see how it behaves using the entire. So as you can see, when you scroll fast and last, there's a cutoff on both. As you can scrolling the fast and last. As you can see, when scrolling the first and last visible item, first and last visible cutoff on both sizes to maintain the same padding, but still scroll the content within the bound of its span without clipping it. All list provide a parameter. All list provides a parameter that lazy called content padding and set it to 16 dp. Okay, so that's behavior currently we have. There is some at the end and the start there is a clipping that is cutting off, right? So we should make it very smooth. So there is a to maintain the same padding but still the scroll content within the bound of this parent without clipping it. All list provides a parameter called lazy though. All provides a parameter to the all list provide a parameter to the lazy though called content padding set to 16. Let's do it this way. Padding below horizontal. Horizontal means this one and this one. Horizontal. Content padding is 16 and जहाँ पे हम 16 दिया है ना भाई और डिवाइडेड पेडिंग उसको मारते हैं आउट ठीक है ना भाई हमने यहाँ पे भी दिया है 16 उसको भी करते हैं गुड बाय let's go to this one and let's run this application one more time and see what result we can come up with. Yeah, now we are getting a very good. If we give the 16 dB auto happen without giving it a horizontal, let's do it all. Now this is not to work out. Horizontal has to be there. Yeah, you can do that for the bit spacing, just good. Yeah, I think that's awesome. If you get padding to all. Okay, let me show you in the how this is looking. That's what it's looking right now. It's not clipping it. I can't show the video, but it's working fine now. So aligner body law has done it. Now we'll do the lazy grid. We'll make this composable in the code. Okay, let's do the lazy grid. The next section to implement is favorite collection. The next section to implement is the favorite collection. Okay, first we'll change the parameter. Now let's come to favorite collection card. Here we'll give lazy row. So you could implement the section similar to the previous section by creating lazy row and let each item hold a column of two favorite instance. However, this step you will use the lazy horizontal grid, which provides a nicer mapping from this item grid element. So start with a simple implementation of the grid and to fixed row. Okay, lazy horizontal grid. Rows fixed to let's use the lazy horizontal grid. Lazy horizontal grid cell of two means two item. Okay, cell of two. Items and drawable and text. Drawable and text. Favorite collection grid. Let's run this application. Let's see how this application looks like. That's now currently it's looking like. Okay, it's not calling it actually. Favorite collection grid. So this is not looking great. I mean, let me show you favorite collection. Is there anything? Favorite collection grid. Let Let me show you how this is actually looking. So it's looking like this. I mean, let me show you. So as you can see, we simply replace the lazy row from the previous step with lazy horizontal line. However, this should not give you the correct result yet. So this is how we are getting the result. So we are not supposed to get this kind of result. So favorite collection grid preview. So that's what we are currently getting. So this is not our end result. So it's callable. I mean, it's callable. When it's called this also scrolls horizontally. So this is not a good behavior. So I'll change it. So the grid takes up as much as space of its parent. Yes, which means the favorite collection card are stressed way too much. And particularly adapt the composable so that the grid has horizontal content. Adapt the composable so that the grid has a horizontal padding of 16 dp. The horizontal and vertical arrangement is space by 16 dp. The height of the grid is 168 dp. The modifier of the favorite collection space is height of the modifier of the favorite collection grid's specific height of 80 dp. The final code should look like this. So let's change it. There is some change we need to make, which is in the horizontal grid is we have set the rows of 2 grid cells modifier. I've not changed it. So look at the modifier of height 168 dp. So this will shrink the height. Let's see. Okay, now it's looking much better. We just change the modifier to height is 168 dp. Let's run the application on the real device and see how the what output we get. Let's see. Now it's looking much better actually. We have not given I mean, arrangement of center horizontally, but it's already doing its work. I think maybe we've given here, that's why. Yes, vertical arrangement center vertical, that's why. So let's go to this implementation, not the preview, but in the this one, the zero grid height. After giving height, it's working. But let me show you. I mean, I'm really excited right now. It's working as we expected. See, we need to give some start padding and in between padding. Okay. So content padding horizontal is 16 dp. I will start doing giving one parameter and checking. Let's see what it says. See, and then start is this. Okay, great. Horizontal arrangement splitting a space by. What does space by do? Wait a second. What this space by do? Space is not showing here. I mean space equal space in between. Equal space in between. Okay. Space by. You already used space by. Yeah, two places we have used space by. One in favorite collection grid and this align body weight row. Space by 16 dp. Okay. Space by means space between those each item. This is spaced by horizontal alignment spaced by 16 dp. Great. And vertical arrangement space by 16 dp. Let's see. Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. Right now the preview should look like this. Yeah, the preview looks great. Now let's run this application. The preview is looking great. Let me show you. On my physical device how it's looking. See how it's looking currently. So let's go to home section. So in the MySuti home screen, there are multiple sections that follows the same pattern. They each have a title with some content varying dependent on the section. Here is a design what you want. Here is a design what you want. There's a text. So as you can see, each section has a title and a slot. Okay, what is slot here? There's a new concept. What is slot? Let's see. So in Suti application, there are multiple sections that follow the same pattern. Each have a title with some content varying depending on the section. Here is a design we want to implement. So as you can see, each item has a title and a slot. The title has some spacing. And style information associated with it. The slot can have field with dynamic and defined content. The slot can have field with dynamic content depending on the section. To implement this flexible section container, use a so-called so-called slot API. Before you implement this, read the section on the documentation page about slot-based layout. This will help you understand what slot-based layout is and how you can use slot API. Let's see what it says. Slot-based API. Let's see what slot does. So Compose provides a large variety of composable. So Compose provides a large variety of composable based on material design with the Android as material dependency, including when creating Compose project to make usability element like drawer, floating action button, top are provided. Compose provides a large variety of composable on the material design of Android X dependency, including the creating Compose project Android to make UI building easy element like drawer, floating action, top action all provided. Material component make heavy use of slot API, a pattern Compose introduced to bring a layer of customization on top of composable. This approach makes the component more flexible as they accept a child element which can configure itself rather than having to expose web pre-configured parameter of the child. Slot leave an empty space in the UI for the developer to fill as you wish. Slot leave an empty space in the UI so the developer feel as you wish. For example, there are slots that you can customize in the top app bar. Composable usually takes a content composable lambda content. Slot API exposes multiple content parameter for specific users. For example, top app bar allows to provide a content for title, navigation, icon, action. So composable user takes a content composable function. Slot API exposes multiple content parameter for specific use cases. For example, scaffold allows you to implement UI. Scaffold allows you to implement UI with a basic material design layout structure. Scaffold provides slot for the most common top-level material such as top web button floating onto web. By using scaffold, it's easy to make sure that these components are properly positioned and work together correctly. Home screen model scaffold top web content padding. Okay, so that's what slot API means. You can learn this from from field documentation about other thing. So slot-based table leaves an empty space in the UI for developer to fill as it is. You can use them and create more flexibility. Okay, adapt the home section composable. Adapt the home section composable to receive title and slot content. You should be also adapt the associated preview to call home section with the aligner body title and content. Home section. In my section in my home, there's a slot API which is very important. So in my home screen there are multiple sections that follows the same pattern. Each has the title. So there's two sections that following the same pattern, which is there's a text header and slam element which is called slot. So we will make use of slot API. You can see that title in the slot. Title is not spacing and stand information. So the slot can be from the level of the defined content. The section to implement this flexible section container use the so-called slot API before you can implement this with the section on the documentation page about slot-based layout. This will help you understand what slot-based layout is and how you can use slot API to build such layout. Okay, slot-based API means this: you have to pass a content to a composable content parameter or a function in a composable to use it basically. So it's a very important concept. I've just understood this slot-based layout. So actually I'm not good at explaining, but I got the idea. So in the home screen, section I need to pass the title because we will reuse it. In the home screen section we have to home section or home screen. There's a home section and home screen. In the home section, okay, we are passing a string resource. We'll give string resource modifier and the anonymous function content. Home composer receive title and slot content. Adapt the home screen composable to receive a title and a slot content. So this will accept the slot content. I'll show you with the align your body and content. Title, align your body, title and content. Okay. Now what we'll use is use this column. Okay. Use this, implement this, use this column with a modifier that will passed, and text is string resource the title. We will add the title and we'll pass it, and then the content. And content is home section, right? Home section, there is a content that is passed. We have not passed any content. Home section preview. So what we will do is to home section preview is this home theme. Is home section is align your body row, right? So that's what I passed. Home section preview. Let's see. Home section preview. Align your body. Home section preview. So go to the home section and modify the title. This is the best practice of it. I mean, we can work around with it, but we can also use column and then passing. We can use column and then to pass this align body and then this, but this is the best practice using the slot API. Okay. So here is text resource string ID this. Okay. So you can use the content parameter for the composable slot. You can use the content parameter for the composable slot. This way, when you use the home section composable trailing lambda, yeah, lambda function, taking function as an argument. So you can use the content parameter for the composable. So this way, when you use the home section composable, you can use the trailing lambda to fill the content slot. So when a composable provides a multiple slot to fill in, when compose provides a multiple slot to fill in, you can give them meaningful name that represent their function in the bigger composable container. For example, material toolbar provides a slot for title, navigation, and action. So what this slot providing is you don't pass it, what will happen? Just text. I'm going to put the content there, right? comma there, and column modifier int. Title is title string resource text home section, and then home section we pass the content, and where this home section is called in the preview section is home section is aligner body, and then aligner body the home section tailing lambda. That's great. Yeah, see how it looks like in this implementation. So text composable needs some minor information to make it align the design. Use the title medium, the spacing between the baseline and the test stop is 40, the space between the baseline and the bottom of 16, the horizontal padding is 16. The final solution should look like this. Okay, let's add some modification of the text composable. Let's say aligner bodies or So now you have seen the slot API, which is really powerful. See, the application is working. I have to remove this. Let me show you how this application currently looks like. This application look like. I need to remove this kind of spacing. It doesn't look good. Ta, 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 ta. So, align your body, don't I? Yes, it's align your body. The content padding is 16 dp. Just remove it here. Let's run it. It's looking good, but there's a top padding which has to be removed. I think I need to keep this. So now it's looking good. Let me show you the logcat that now the application looking good. So basically this section is about the slot API. Slot API. What is slot API is actually, because we have this pattern are same, right? There is a text view and some content which is slot. There is a text view and some content which is similar pattern. So what we did is actually it's very simple. Where is the code? Home screen, home screen, home screen. Airline, favorite, home. So what we did is we have created a home section which takes a title, right? Which take title as it seems because it's coming from resource r dot string dot this. That's why I say int, and the modifier is default. And also what we did is we have implemented a trailing lambda here. So what the trailing lambda does is home section. What the trailing lambda does is we can implement a function. We can call a function there, right? So in the home section we are taking a string, right? We are taking a we are passing a string which is which is the align your body, right? Align your body text, and then we are using of trailing use of trailing lambda and calling the align your body composable, and same goes for home screen. We are passing the favorite collection text and then favorite collection grid composable. So these are repetitive, right? So that's why we use this. Okay, hope you got the idea about the slot API. So as you can see, each section has a title and the slot. Title has some spacing. Title has some spacing associated with it. The slot can be filled with dynamic with defined content. Slot can be filled with dynamic with defined content. For example, its content is align with body row, and this content is favorites collection grid. Okay, so that's what we did actually. Sequence a content parameter of the composable slot. This way, when using the home screen composable, you can use a trailing lambda to fill the content slot. You can use a trailing lambda to fill content slot. When composable, when a composable, mm, when a composable provides multiple slot to fill in, you can get them meaningful names and represent their function to a bigger composable container. For example, material app theme provides a slot for title, navigation, and action. Right. So let's see how the section look like. Information to text composable needs some more information to make it align with the design. Update it, or the final solution is this. Okay, now let's go to home screen scrolling. So slotting concept is done, right? We've implemented the slotting concept. Git commit m. Slot based limit. We implemented the slot based layout. So slot based layout leaves an empty space in the UI for the developers to fill as they wish. You can use them to create more flexible layout. So slot based API is done. Now I will write an article on slot based API. Yeah, let's take a note here. Slot API. Okay, now slot based API is done. We have reused it, reuse the composable. Okay. Now let's use the scrolling feature, home screen. I think we're missing something. I've just deleted some padding, I guess, from the align your body row. It has to be 16 dp, I guess. Horizontal. No, dp is enough, I guess. I want to give it 8 here. And this not so horizontal will be. And so horizontal is what is it? It's a space between space in start and end. If I give them the start, then we only space start. So I think 16 is looking great, I guess. Yeah, our application is looking good. Let me show you in the it's looking on my screen. See this kind of space. Also, what we have used is use the horizontal as well. So at the end of the screen, there is also spacing. See, at the end, it's also spacing. So working great. Now in the home screen scrolling. So now that you have created all the separate building blocks, you can combine them into a full screen implementation. Here is a design you are trying to implement: search bar, align your body section, favorite collection section. We are simply placing search. We are simply placing a search bar in the other two sections below another. There's some spacing that you need to add to make it even fit and fit the design. Fit the design. Fit the design. One composable that we have not used is the spacer, which helps us to put extra room inside our column. So if you would instead set the column spreading, you would get the same cut of behavior that we saw before in the favorite collection grid. Home screen. To do some work around here. Let's put this on the home screen, right? Modify a search bar. Spacer is 16 dp. Search bar horizontal is 16. Space I just space. Search bar padding is 16 dp. It's saying horizontal 16 dp. Horizontal spacing is 16 dp, and then spacer modifier dot height at the end is 16 dp. Let's run this application. home screen. So although the design fits well in most of devices, it needs to be scrollable vertically in case of devices not high enough. For example, in landscape mode, this requires that you add a scrolling behavior. Okay. Now, what we have done here is I just call the home screen to its implementation, which is the app. Let me show you. In the scrollable app, I call this home screen and took all the content on the code of the home screen to this home screen composable, and then added a column. Or this column is put at the default modifier, and then what new code is just it's doing some space on top of the search bar, and then inside search bar we have padding in the horizontally, which is start and end, and then in the home section we have used the slot API feature for align your body and favorite collection, and then we have added the spacer in the spacer at the end of this favorite collection grid. Okay, now what now the app look like this. Let me show you. They currently look like this. So in the most of the Android device this will fit. We don't need to have a scalable behavior, but if we do the landscape, if we do the portrait mode, what will happen? Let me show you. See how this application looks. We can't scroll and scroll. We can't scroll, right? Show you. Let me wait a second. We will also design the landscape behavior. So then in the landscape mode, the application doesn't look great, right? We can't scroll. So first we need to add the scrollable behavior, then we'll fix it in the landscape mode. So this requires you to add the scrolling behavior. We saw earlier lazy layouts such as lazy row and lazy horizontal automatically add the scrolling behavior. Yes, however, you don't always need a lazy layout. In general, use a lazy layout when you have many elements in a list or large data set load too. So emitting all the item at once would come to a performance cost. So you see a lazy layout when you have many elements in the list. When list has only so emitting all the item at once would come at a performance of cost and would slow down your app. Yes, which when a list has only limited number of elements, you can instead choose to use a column or row, and add the scroll behavior manually. To do so, you use vertical scroll or horizontal scroll modifier. So this requires a scroll state which contains a current state of the scroll used to modify the scroll state from outside. So in this case, you are not looking to modify the scroll state, so simply create a persistent scroll state instance from a remember scroll state. So what does it say? It is saying that we can achieve the scrolling behavior using lazy row and lazy horizontal grid, but we have limited number of elements, right? For example, align your body and the favorite collection, so we don't need to add this lazy row horizontal lazy grid. Instead, we can use the simply column and row and add the scrolling behavior manually. To do so, we can use a vertical scroll and horizontal scroll modifier. Okay, so this requires scroll state which contains the current state of the scroll used to modify the scroll state from outside. So those require scroll state which contains this requires scroll state which contains the current state of the scroll. You can instead choose to use simply column or row and add the scroll behavior manually. To do so, you can use the vertical scroll and horizontal scroll modifier. This requires scroll state which contains the current state of the scroll used to modify the scroll state from the outside. In this case, we are not looking to modify the scroll state, so you can simply create a persistent scroll state instance using remember scroll state. Okay, to learn more about remember and decompose, follow this state composable. So remember is just persisting the data in a decomposition. So you can just go to this code lab. Maybe we'll go through this code lab in some other video. As I could look and see it. Okay, now we are focusing on UI only, so we don't need to worry about anything. So what you can do now, your final result will look like this. Oh, it's simple as that. Modifier dot vertical scroll. Modify the vertical scroll to remember scroll state. That's it. That's it. Let me run this application and see how the app behaves now. In portrait mode we can't see anything, but let's do the landscape. Wow, wow, the application is working super good, man. So let me show you. In the initial screen there is the favorite collection items are shrinking to fit in the entire screen, but right now as we have added the remember scrollable state, it's now behave really fun. Wait a second, I'm super excited. See, it's scrollable. I can show you in the screen, but it's scrollable. The when we use the scroll, this kind of this search bar going up and this align board is going up. All the things are going up, okay? Because all are the child of this column. That's why all are the child component of this column. So great. So far so good. Now bottom navigation. So to verify composable scrolling behavior, limit the preview height and run it to interactive preview. What is this interactive preview? I'm not aware of it. Let's see. Teacher compose function is quite composable. Preview UI live edit replay changes. So these are memory intensive work, man. I don't just don't focus on this. I have only 8 GB of RAM. Using this preview live preview will drain my. It will slow down. It will lag, and it will fire up the fan of my Mac. So anyway, the scrolling behavior is working superb in the landscape mode. So let's go to the bottom navigation. That's one of the very important thing to follow. What we have done in here is what we have done in this section is added scrollable, right? Add scrolling behavior. Okay, scrolling behavior. Now let's work with the bottom navigation. So now that you have implemented the content of the screen, you are ready to add the window at the window decoration. In this case of MySoup, in the case of MySoup, there is a navigation bar that lets us to switch between different screen. Okay, first implement the navigation bar composable and then include the inner image. Let's take a look at the design. Thankfully you don't have to implement this entire composable from scratch by yourself. You can use the navigation bar composable. That's part of the compose material library. inside the navigation bar composable. So you can add one or more navigation bar item that will then get the style automatically by the material library. If you're interested in material design, you would like to learn more about how to implement design system using Jetpack composable and follow theming. Okay, so the basic implementation of this start the basic implementation of the bottom navigation. So bottom navigation, there is code that already there. Let's see. These are all preview. Shoot navigation rail. Shoot what is this? Bottom navigation material. I should have scaffold. So bottom navigation material implement the shoot bottom navigation. So divided the navigation composable, navigation bar modifier, navigation bar item, icon is content description null label is bottom navigation home, selected to this one is selected and click navigation bar item. There are two items. One is navigation bar item which is this, another is navigation bar item which is this. So we have added this. Okay, let me add this. Okay, let's import those. Create here. Let's import navigation bar. Oh, it's not importing. Okay, navigation bar is important. Navigation bar item is also important, and SPA account circle. So what we have done is we have imported a navigation bar, and there is a default modifier we passed from this so the button navigation function. So, and there is a added two navigation item, which is first item is a navigation bar item icon. Icon, we have added the icon image vector from icon library, and we have added the text which is home. Which is home, and on selected, this one is selected by default. This is on selected, this is false, so this one is selected by default. Okay, we have added another navigation bar item which is account circle, and then it is selected false, and on click is empty because we're not working with state there, so let's keep this on click empty. So this is what the basic implementation look like. There is not a lot of contrast between the content color and the navigation bar. There is some style adaptation you should make. First of all, you can update the background color of the bottom navigation by setting content. Let's see how this looks like in a preview. Let's see. So the bottom navigation. Let's see. Is it working? So bottom navigation. Let's see how this looks like. Okay, that's what currently look like. Okay, let's do some first modification there. So there's some styling. Let's do some styling. Modify this content color is material color scheme. First we have content color materials color scheme dot surface variant. Now the navigation bar should look like this. Notice how it provides more contrast. contrast. Okay, I mean it contrast means it will, there's a line which is yeah, like a spacer or spacer. It's a divider. It's like a divider. It's like it's like a border. Okay, so it's working fine. Now that's use of scaffold. Okay. Now first scaffold. Support navigation item. My scaffold. My portrait. Navigation material. So for this step, get a full. Uh, for this step, get a full screen implementation, including the bottom navigation. Use the material scaffold composable. Scaffold gives a top level complication composable. So for this step, create a full screen implementation, including the bottom navigation. For this step, create a full screen implementation, including the bottom navigation. Use a material scaffold composable. Scaffold gives a top level configuration composable for the apps and implement material design. It contains slot for various material concept. One on which this bottom bar, one of which is bottom bar. In this bottom bar, you can place the bottom navigation composable that you created in the previous step. Bottom bar suit bottom navigation. Okay. Implement the suit portrait. Implement the suit portrait composable. This is the top level. Implement the suit level. Implement the suit app portrait composables. This is the top level composable of the app. You should apply the suit. Apply the material theme. Add the scaffold. Set the bottom bar to your suit navigation composable. So the content in the home screen. Okay. Theme. So portrait. I need to remove this thing. For example, my suit application. Whatever we have passed here. Theme. Another theme. I have not added any theme, man. Really. Other than theme. Magical Megan. My suit portrait. Let's run this. What we did is we call this MySuite portrait and portrait is under MySuite theme. Scaffold. In the scaffold we have added bottom bar, bottom navigation, heading, and then the home screen. Okay, home screen is simply column, vertical home screen, spacer, home screen. Great, man. This app is working super fine here. Now the application is working great. But why it is not selected? Home is selected, but it's not showing. Okay. So now you implement the station. What is scaffold here? Let me explain you once. Let me show you. Use the material scaffold. Scaffold gives you top level configuration, configurable composable for app that implement material design. It contains slot for available. It contains slot for various material concept, one of which is bottom bar. It contains a slot for various material concept, which is one is bottom bar. In this bottom bar, you can place the bottom navigation composable that you created in the previous step. Okay, use the bottom navigation we created in the previous step, which is just bottom navigation. In the previous step. So implement the MySouth portrait module composer. This is top level composer for the app. You should apply. This is top level composer for the app. You should apply the MySouth app material theme at the scaffold. Apply the MySouth theme for material theme at the scaffold. At the bottom bar, set the content of home screen composable. Set the content of the home screen composable. Okay, home screen composable. Home screen may align your body there. It's a really unidirectional, I guess, one after another. It's a very great way to design the application in a composable. So home screen is done. Why are you calling this home screen? You are calling home screen. Yeah, okay. MySouth app theme. Now the application is looking really great. Let me. So I have just turned on the landscape mode. The bottom navigation is still in the same places, but the content is moving. Okay, so MySouth app scaffold. So this is working fine. Navigation rail. Now we have used the scaffold. So we have used the scaffold feature. Now what we will do is we will check the version implemented the pixel perfect way. You can compare this image to your own preview implementation. Okay, it's now pixel perfect. So that's the screenshot of there, and that's what we have implemented. See what we implemented now. Okay, now what we will do is to add a landscape mode. When you rotate the device, this bottom navigation should come to the left of the screen. Okay, like this. So we'll implement this. So navigation rail. When you create layout for apps, you also let's kill this process for memory optimization. So when creating layout for the app, you also need to be mindful of what it will look like in multiple configuration. So when creating layout for the apps, you also need to be mindful of what it will look like in multiple configuration, including landscape mode on your phone. Here is a design for the app in a landscape mode. Notice how the bottom navigation turns on a how to notice how the bottom navigation turns into a rail. What is rail? I don't know. Rail on top of the screen. Top of the rail on the left of the screen content. Yeah. This implementation you will this implementation To implement this, you will use a navigation rail composable, which is a part of the compose material library and have similar implementation to the navigation bar, navigation rail. That is used to create a bottom. That is used to create bottom navigation bar. Inside the navigation rail composable, you will add the navigation rail item element for home and profile. Let's start the implementing the navigation rail. Navigation rail. So this is simple. This will only will create this kind of navigation. Okay, great. Now to put it on the middle, right? To put it on the middle. So there's some style adaptation you should make. Add 8 padding at the start and end. Update the background color. By setting content color parameter using the background color from the material theme. By this setting, background color of the icon text automatically adapt in background. The column should fill the maximum height. Set the column's vertical element to center. Set the column horizontal to center horizontally. Add 8 padding between the icon. The final solution should look like this. So I just copy this. Shoot navigation rail preview. Let's look at the preview. Shoot navigation rail preview. See, it's looking awesome, right? Navigation rail is completed. So now let's add a navigation rail to the landscape layout. So for the portrait version of the app, you used a scaffold. However, for landscape you use a raw. So for the portrait version of the app, you used a scaffold. For the portrait version of the app, you use a scaffold, right? Yeah, you use the scaffold. For the landscape, you use a raw. And place the navigation there on the screen of the content, right? I should have landscape. I should him raw. Shoot navigation rail. Let me इसके अंदर कुछ नीचे में रखते मैं सोते landscape मैं सोते portrait see so in the portrait mode use scaffold and for the landscape mode use the home screen and net row. So when you use the scaffold in the portrait version, it also takes care of setting of the content color and setting of the content color background for you. To set the color on the navigation and wrap the content in a surface and set it to background color. Okay. because so what he said is when you use the scaffold in the it take care of setting the content color in the background for you. Scaffold is already done it internally, but to mention it explicitly using surface before the row. Iso tab window size. So this is not implemented yet. We can see the Mysore tab landscape. We have not used this. We'll use it landscape in this. Mysore tab portrait landscape. We haven't implemented it, but we can preview it. Mysore tab landscape. Let's see. Mysore tab landscape preview. See the landscape preview. Great. So that's the landscape preview. Okay, we have not used a logic that if the skin size is this or skin size is that, we'll use this or that based on some condition. So we'll implement this. Mysore tab window size. So implemented navigation rail. Let's give it a So you have the preview for landscape mode looking great. However, if you want to run the app on a device in emulator and turn it to the size, it will not show you the landscape version because you have not implemented, of course. That is because you need to tell the app to show when the configuration of this app. To do this, we use the calculate window size function to see what configuration the phone is in. So compact, medium, window size classes. Okay, with calculate window size classes expanded. Okay, so there are three window size classes with compact, medium, and expanded. So when the app is in the portrait mode, it is in the compact width. When it is in the landscape mode, it is in the expanded width. Landscape mode is in the expanded width. For the purpose of this Codelab, we won't be working with the medium width. And so in my shopping app, update it to take the device window size class. If it is compact, pass it to portrait. If it's landscape, pass a landscape version there. So Mysore tab portrait. It's awesome, man. It's awesome. Where this window size is coming? Insert content, create a value called window size class, set it to calculate window size and pass it to Mysore tab. Since the calculator window size is still experimental, you need to opt to the experimental material to window size class API. on the emulator device and observe how the display changes. It is doing this because I mean app will work. I think app will work. This is just doing some. So it is giving error, but this app will work. So use the window size class. Okay. This function in the composable. Let's paste this. Hopefully now that will work. Already added this here. Calculate window size class activity this. जैसे सेट कंटेंट के अंदर घुसना पड़ेगा भाई. Okay, this is a composable, that's why this is a composable function. So the calculate window size class is a composable. See, it's a composable, but we are putting it in the non-composable class. So I need to put this inside the set content. So this will work out fine now. See, error is gone. I need to know the concept, then it will be very easy to code. Let's run this application now. Now it will work super fine. So now run the application emulator on the device and observe how the display changes on rotation. Let's go to the implementation of this shooting app. Yeah, the app is working as we expected. So this line is doing the magic work. So when the window size is in a compact mode, compact means the portrait mode. My shoot app portrait app function will call. When this on the expanded, that means it's on the landscape mode. My shoot app.landscape function call. So there's the my shoot app landscape, and this is the my shoot app portrait. It is using scaffold for portrait, is using raw for landscape. So that's it. Let me show you the app one more time, how it's looking in the portrait mode. That's how the app is looking in the portrait. And let me show you the landscape recapture. See, that's how app is looking at landscape. So the app is working fine. Let me give a final push of it. Window size. So in XML, we have to create a XML function and these. So there was some workaround, but yeah, it's a very different approach we have just implemented. So let's see. So that's it for this video for today, I guess. So congratulations, you successfully completed this Codelab and learned more about layout and compose. Through implementing a visual design, you learned about modify alignment, arrangement, list layout, slot API, scrolling, material component, and layout specific design. So I've just completed this code lab, and I've done it. And check out my GitHub here. GitHub the code that I post. So yeah, it's a good learning experience for me. I will write a blog article on slot API and maybe on how to use this window size for landscape and how to use scaffold for this portrait mode. I will write a blog article on that as well. So that's it. I'll see you in some other video in the next code lab. Thank you so much. Bye bye.